Welcome back to some more drawing instructions. Today we're going to talk about measure and proportion, a really important skill for any aspect of life, like cooking or fashion design, but especially true in drawing. I have a method that should help you keep things consistent as you measure and not make silly mistakes as you draw. So one of the things is to pretend you're always measuring everything on a flat plane. We're going to use a plexiglass to represent that because it's flat like a sheet of paper or two-dimensional drawing surface. So if you choose not to measure on that flat plane, what's going to happen is you'll break that plane and you'll get a different measurement, you'll get a different perspective, and it'll change your scale. So you'll get a Picasso-esque cubist drawing, which you may not want when you're drawing realistically in the beginning. So I want you to measure using some frame of reference. I like to use a pin cap and my finger to mark things off, so I'll know the distance of something, like this box edge from left to right is that far. So I'll measure it and I'll put that same set of dots on my paper. We're going to speed it up a little though. So dot, dot, that's that space right there. I'll measure the front of the box on the plexiglass, dot, dot, and that will be the height and width of that shape. Keep in mind the camera angle on the paper a little bit different than the plexiglass. So then I'm going to measure from the left to the right on the plexiglass, not the box itself, on the actual plexiglass or my imagined plexiglass. And then vertical spaces like that show depth. So you want to measure that up. Here's how it translates to a shoe. The bottom to the front of the shoe to the back of the shoe will show depth. And I'm going to measure the heel to the toe. And I should have several reference points, and I actually like to put those on a piece of paper so I know where to draw things to when I do my details. So I'm going to line this back up and get all the edges back to where they should be. And then what I'm actually going to start doing is making sure that I measure on that plane and don't turn my head or move the shoe at all, because that'll change the perspective of the drawing. I'm going to start tracing as many details as I can. Watch out especially for overlapping spaces, like right there. Get that shoelace in right when you get to it. And then capture as many details as you can as you make your way around the shoe. There's a leather edge, and there's a shape for some texture, and there's the sole, and there's some cleats down there. Try and get all those things. Be especially careful around the laces. The plexiglass will help you understand how that works. You'll end up with some sort of shoe drawing like this, and you can check as you're a beginning student, you can double check your measurements from the plexiglass to the piece of paper and make sure you've got a handle on how to measure things. So if I do that, and then I put the shoe there on a horizontal measurement, that should work out pretty close. It might be slightly different because of the plexiglass, and it might be slightly closer to you than the actual shoe. But on the height, be very careful, because a lot of people assume that they're going to get the entire height of the shoe by measuring just a small section. But you need to measure the front that's closest to you and the height. So you can see I have 3 dots. One's for the height right there, and that one's for the space of the opening of the shoe in the way I see it for my drawing. So once you get that kind of laid out, you could go ahead and begin drawing. So I'll just grab my pen, my piece of paper, and start to fill in the details from there. And if I have my measurements done correctly, this should pretty much just be an easy matter of adding lots of details. So have fun, use line variation again, use patterns, use textures. If you know how to shade or crosshatch, add some of that in, but I think you guys will get the idea. And that's a great way to learn how to measure. And once you do that, you can translate that to any drawing you do and keep the proportions correct. Good luck and have some fun.